You all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Mr. Buechner?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Supervisor Williams?
Here. Somebody like to audit the bills?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve abstract number 13 dated July 12, 2024 in the amount of $402,316.35. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have
Aye.
a couple of budget transfers.
Sure. I have here budget adjustment request number 18, effective date July 24th, 2024. The following budget adjustment is requested to allocate additional funds to the sanitation personal services account for Mr. Grady's additional retirement costs and sick pay. So we're making an increase to the insurance recoveries for $6,200 and an increase to sanitation personal services, employee benefits, Social Security, employee benefits, Medicare, and MTA taxes. So I'd like to make a motion to approve 2024 budget adjustment request number 18. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I also have here budget adjustment request number 19. The effective date is July 24th, 2024. The following budget adjustment is necessary to allocate funds for auto insurance for the EMS 2016 Chevy Tahoe. I'd like to increase the interest earnings by $640 and increase unallocated insurance for $640. I'll make a motion to approve budget adjustment request number 19. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Keep it going.
Yep. So I have here a request for a refund from the building department on May 16th. A payment was submitted to the building department in the amount of $275 processed for a fuel gas permit. The applicant has now contacted the office and is asked to withdraw the permit, so I'd like to make a motion to request the refund for Mr. Rogan in the amount of $200 as the $75 application fee is non-refundable. So
We have
moved.
Second.
discussion. Mr. Rogan, you have anything you wish to say?
I just want to recuse myself from this conversation.
All right, on the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No. Okay. We have only one recreation request this week from Mr. Matt Chabarro for a new hire. He's requesting that we hire Sophia Falco as a recreation assistant for the rec department at the rate of $13 per hour. Sophia has some experience working with children and adults, and she's very experienced and is a welcome addition to his staff. All paperwork will be submitted to Ms. Sue Brown prior to the start of employment. I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Sophia Falco at $13 per hour. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Peter?
We have before us a resolution to correct some code violations, but we are going to go through that in executive session.
So you would like to table it?
I'd like
for
to table that.
executive session?
Yes, so moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Next, we have some hiring authorizations for the EMS. Yes, Mr. Kearns is requesting that Mr. John Gonzalez employment status change from temporary to permanent as an EMT for the town of Patterson EMS. This change is due to the fact that he has met his civil service requirements and is the current civil service list. Mr. Gonzalez is currently working and will begin his one-year probationary period per civil service rules. So I ask that we approve this request. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
But the amount we're going with is
Yeah.
this, right?
And then secondly, Robert Kearns is for EMS, is requesting Mr. Joseph Nicashier's employment status change from temporary to permanent as an EMT in the EMS. This change is due to the fact that he has met his civil service requirements.
Thank you.
And I move that we approve that, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations to
Yes,
Mr.
congratulations to
Bashir
both
and
of
Mr.
them.
Gonzalez. Very good, thank you.
that, Peter.
We'll do this later?
You want to do it now?
I don't care.
Go ahead. Go for it.
Okay. So recently, I put out invitations to bid for a new deck on the caretaker's house at Veterans Memorial Park. I invited 8 bidders, 4 sent in proposals, and they are as follows. I have one bid at $46,680, one bid at $21,800, one bid at $29,054.22, and the last bid came in at $35,000. So I would like to make a motion that we approve the proposal provided by Bruce Major Contracting, Inc. In the amount of $21,800. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'd like to thank you for getting that done. It's been a long time coming.
No problem.
Sean?
Okay, first item we have relates to some replacement of computers for town hall employees. The supervisor was kind enough to get bids for the systems individually with the addition of the software packages. Turns out that bundling them together, which is usually the case, results in some significant savings for the town. So we have a quote from our Dell representative for 4 Optiplex computer systems with video conferencing monitors. The total amount for the 4 with all the software packages is $7,133.24, which is about an $800 to $1,000 savings over breaking them out individually. I'd like to make a motion that we approve that purchase as submitted. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And secondly, we have a request that needs to be dealt with for the Fox Run condos lead service line inventory. This essentially is what is being asked of every water supply in New York State and actually across the country, that we identify what the makeup is of the water systems that service our community water supplies. This has nothing to do with if you own your own home, but has everything to do with community systems identifying whether or not the service lines and the connections have lead fittings and are potentially causing a concern. It's very cumbersome for all of the water supplies, as many people know. It's incredibly cost prohibitive. We have a quote from Semco Water and Wastewater Specialists, who services this system, to basically excavate and evaluate some of these connections within the Fox Run condos water supply. They're looking at a quote to do 8 locations within the system. This is manual labor, digging up, identifying the components, verifying within the condos, and the amount is for $6,000 to provide that service. So I'll make a motion we approve that request and bid from Semco Water and Wastewater Specialists, Inc. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, recently I was contacted about an issue with our zoning code, and at this point I would like to ask, yes, Devin Ruckley to come up and address the board.
Good evening. My name's Devin Rupley. I moved to Patterson 4 years ago. I live up on Mooney Hill Road, and I'm so thrilled to be a resident of this town. I really have fallen in love with it. One thing I did not anticipate was quite high taxes, which is fine, but were a little bit unexpected to me. And so I was hoping to be able to rent part of my house from time to time, using short-term rentals to supplement my ability to stay in this great town. I think there's a lot of other benefits for using primary resident only, so making sure that folks don't sell their homes to rental folks long-term, but that people are able to rent part of their house or all of their house for short-term amounts of time from time to time to be able to make some income, to be able to supplement and make the money they need to live here. It also brings tourists in to our local businesses, and there's really great examples of a lot of nearby towns that have really tightly regulated this. I've talked to actually probably about 10 surrounding towns to figure out what most other places are doing and how they're making sure that it doesn't harm the nature of the towns as well as harm and bother other residents. And Putnam Lakes, I think that's the town that most recently just did went through this whole process, and they came up with a process which I've emailed to all of you, which really tightly regulates the number of permits that that the town can give. They ask for a lot. Oh, sorry.
Putnam
If I can
Valley.
interrupt,
Oh,
this
yeah.
Putnam Valley is not Putnam
Putnam
Lake.
Valley. Sorry.
Some of
okay.
our Putnam Lake residents would be very disturbed to hear
Sorry.
this.
Putnam Valley, thank you. And so there's an application process for applying for a permit. There's an escrow program, so folks actually put in money in case there's any issues that arise. And it's a significant fee. It's about $500 to apply for the permit, $500 that go to escrow, and then it includes yearly visits to make sure that the property is safe for that use. Most of the other surrounding towns either allow for short-term rentals or don't disallow it. But I would definitely say that short-term rentals are happening all over the place, and so it seems like it's an opportunity to make some money for the town as well as regulate something that's going on and make sure that it doesn't change the quality of our town and also giving residents the ability to exercise their own rights over their property as long as it doesn't harm residents.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Actually, probably a couple of questions. You said either they allow or don't disallow,
Yes.
which is really clear. So they're basically saying we haven't dealt with it yet.
Yes.
Right? So
Yep.
we're not saying it's not allowed, we just haven't really formulated a plan
Yes.
for it. Did you ever hear of any of the towns putting a minimum lot size on the size of the property?
I didn't hear of the minimum lot size, but I did hear, so some towns are saying no accessory dwelling units. That's a whole nother separate
Okay.
thing. Most towns, it was about 50-50 that allowed for that versus wanted it to just be part of the house, the
Okay.
primary residence.
Right.
Most towns are saying this is only a primary residence thing, that you
I
cannot
understand.
own property
Not
in
chop
towns.
it up, right?
Yes.
So either you're renting your whole house or you're not.
Right, but
Okay.
it maintains that the rental must be by folks that live in the property, so it's limiting the number of
I see.
rental nights per year,
Okay.
so that way you're not having a town made up of people that don't live here, that
Okay.
are, visiting and trying
Yeah.
to stay.
Now, it's interesting. Obviously, we hear from people that the last thing they want is not knowing who's coming and going
Right.
from the neighbor's house. I have a property upstate New York, and
Mhm.
someone bought a neighboring lot, and they advertised it through like an Airbnb as like, bring your four-wheelers, bring all your fun, and the neighbors hated it because
Right.
it brought God knows who to the community. And they were so happy recently that property changed hands, and now it's owned by people it's their own vacation
Right.
property. So obviously there's a lot of different energy surrounding
Absolutely.
this. I think it's obviously a topic we have to contend with.
Mhm.
It's something that people are desiring to go and do an Airbnb or
Right.
whatever you're going to call it, a short-term rental.
Right.
So I thank you for bringing this to our attention. It's something we've been talking about for a while anyway,
Mhm.
but haven't really come to any concrete answers on because there's so many different variations.
Yes.
I love what you said about the idea of having inspections built in because we
Mhm.
need to make sure they're safe for fire
Right.
code. How many times do we go to a hotel or someplace and we go, oh my gosh, the exits are blocked, or where is the fire extinguisher? So that's really important, of course.
Right, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
thank you.
And it was interesting to see the range of fees for the
Mhm.
permits, but it definitely would be a bar to make sure that people are invested
Sure.
in, in being able to keep it up and make sure the standards were met. And many of the towns were actually deciding based on the town residents, like the population, the number of dwellings in the towns, that they're only going to allow 5% permits or something along that line to make sure that there's not going to be an overrun of the town
Right.
by, visitors coming through.
Right.
Is there a maximum amount of days per year, let's say, that you could,
It was
in
very,
most of them?
Yeah, it was different for each town, but it was as few as 50 to not limiting as long as it maintained, I think it must have been half the year then, because they said
Okay.
you had to maintain primary residence status of the owner of the property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So this is your primary residence?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you be planning on staying there while the people are renting
I
during
think
that?
I would probably rent my whole house. I've stayed at Airbnbs where I've been present with the owners, and it was a little awkward to me. I've definitely stayed at accessory dwelling units before, and that was nice actually because someone was close by. But I am lucky to have friends and family who I could go stay with if I was going to rent my property for a period
So
of
it's
time.
not an accessory building
No.
on your property, it's the
Mm-mm.
house?
I mean, we have like a very old pool house there, so I could do that, but I don't think I would. I think I would do the whole property probably.
Understood.
Interesting.
Okay.
So would that, how How often do you think that you'd be interested in doing that?
Not that often. Honestly, I was thinking about it more as a way to kind of, high yield weekends. July 4th, I'm happy to go visit my own family for that weekend and allow other folks to come up. We're lucky enough to have a pool, so it would be a very popular option. Or Memorial Day, those kind of weekends, maybe like, I don't know, 5 weekends a year or something along those lines, just to supplement, to be able to do a lot of the repairs needed for old properties.
So the fact that you're asking, have you been enthusiastic about doing this because you've had people make this request to you?
Yeah,
You know,
from friends that have come up to visit, they're all like, oh my gosh, this would be so lovely. I'm really lucky I have 6 acres, so it's a really nice place to even walk around with your family if you live in a place where you don't have as much space and land. And this is such a beautiful area, and for folks to be able to get out, especially in more congested areas, to come up and spend some time outside in greenery is really lovely.
Did you mention to them that we have a hotel coming?
I haven't heard the details of the hotel, but I think that will be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I give you credit for thinking about renting your house. I don't think I would want someone in my house.
Yeah.
It's very personal space
Right.
to me. It'd be different if I had an accessory apartment or
Yeah.
something that I could do. I wouldn't want someone in my own house.
Yeah,
Just very
I can
private
definitely
like that.
understand it. I've had my family come, which is a big, crazy
Sure.
family, and so I've kind of, with a lot of kids, so the ability to like childproof things and like kind of cordon off has made me contemplate that in a way that I think I would just lock my bedroom door, make that inaccessible, so
Gotcha.
only parts of the house would be used.
That makes sense.
Understood.
And I do think hotels bring different visitors than short-term rentals. So a lot of families would want to come use a whole house. That's what I've used short-term rentals over. Hotels is when I want to travel with my families or bring my dog somewhere or something along those lines, because it's a place where you can cook if you don't want to have to go out or do those things. So it's a different type of group that we'd be missing to have come visit our town than just having hotel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I recognize the benefit to our residents by allowing, a limited number of short-term rentals within our community. Certainly, it helps them out economically. I also recognize that there's a benefit to the town in bringing tourists in to
Sure.
enjoy the hiking trails, the bike trail, Thunder Ridge,
Yeah.
Liberty Paintball. I do, but I got some very equally, with equal weight, concerns about going forward with this. You brought up, Sean, the issue of the person who was renting them out for ATVs. And, people who are renting, doing short-term rentals have a tendency to be individuals who are looking to party with their friends at a house for a weekend. I've heard some of the nightmare stories about that up in Beekman, about how people have just been, destroying neighborhoods. I personally know somebody who had a farm, and people were renting, doing short-term rentals and bringing their dogs up to run, and the dogs were running over and attacking the animals. They were bringing ATVs up, and they were riding on, private property. So these are all very big concerns. And the biggest concern I have is if we allow something like this, it all falls back on our ability to enforce the code. If we have, a short-term rental and the people are getting out of control, we need to somehow enforce it. And that enforcement needs to be 24 hours a day. And right now, we don't have that, so we'd have to ramp up our enforcement capabilities for doing something like this, I would believe. So I think there's a lot of concerns that we need to address if we were going to move forward with something like this. But, we've got a request, and I don't know what the board wants to do at this point, whether you want a little time to think about it, or you want to say, let's
I think-
see what we can draft, or
I think what I'd like to do is look at some of the surrounding towns, what they've drafted, and start with not trying to reinvent the wheel, but consider what the impacts of those standards might be in Patterson. I'd be, like, for instance, would each permit be a special use permit that you would have to have a public hearing on and neighbor notification on? Because I could see a situation where you have lovely neighbors and you have 6 acres and they go, you know what, I think it'd be fine, we have plenty of space. But maybe someone in Putnam Lake would say, no way, we're right on top of each other as it is. I don't want to, I don't know. I could see both scenarios.
I mean, we already have some concerns with neighbors that live next to each other, that have a lot of land and
Right.
ATVs and,
Yeah.
other things, noise ordinances and,
Yeah.
Shooting.
Yeah.
Shooting.
The town of Kent currently has legislation in front of it that they're considering this issue as well, just because
Okay.
it's your direct neighbor. I know that Pauling deals with that issue. They don't have public hearings, but they have a neighbor notification, and depending upon the zoning district, the neighbor notification is either larger or smaller. And they, like I said, they don't have a public hearing, but it gives the neighbors the opportunity to know that there's an application pending and to inform the building inspector if they have concerns about that application.
Jamie, do you know that if it affects their star exemption in any way?
I was going to say the one caveat, because I know one of the issues you brought up is taxes, is that the short-term rental permit and being able to have short-term rentals could potentially increase your assessed value because it's an income-producing property
right.
at that point in time. So potentially, that's something that's really still being worked out among the assessors, and even the associations of assessors are still discussing it, but it could potentially actually increase your assessment.
I'd also like to point out, this is a personal concern, would be that what if they don't leave? I mean, we've been hearing all these stories about,
Squatters.
squatters' rights, and, you get someone in your house and, the police don't want to hear contract, no contract, they have a key, they told me I could stay as long as I want, and that's a living nightmare for someone.
That is the reason why short-term rentals are essentially defined as less than 30 days, because tenancy rights really don't develop until after 30 days.
Interesting.
But that is something where we, in codes, a lot of times they'll say short-term rental and they'll define it as 30 days or less. But that doesn't mean that people aren't Airbnb for longer than that, and
Yeah.
then they could potentially have to deal with that issue.
Yeah. And then the last thing I was thinking about was having a pool, which is a great draw. Boy, as your insurance company, you want to make sure you're covered significantly for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reached out to my insurance company when I was exploring all of this, before I knew it was not allowed, and they were actually okay with it as long as I met all the other code standards,
Right.
including self-flashing gates and
Yeah.
strictly he clearly posted all of the rules around safety circles.
There's a website that allows people, or I should say promotes people renting their pools for pool parties, etc. Swimply is one. And I know Rockland County specifically has had significant problems with it, where they are drafting codes, the health department specifically, because there are drownings that, there's no regulation on this, and they're essentially saying that the state health department says, well, we don't want to allow a permit for a pool that doesn't meet certain codes, and no backyard pool meets those codes. So you're chasing your tail. You're saying, well, if you want to do it, you have to meet the code, but no homeowner pool ever meets the code. So they're really working hard to try to draft reasonable legislation, knowing that people want this, that they're doing this, but it's pretty dangerous. Sometimes our job feels like we're here to protect people from themselves, because they come up with all kinds of ways to, potentially get themselves in trouble. I don't have the answer. I'm certainly willing to take a look at it, because I think it's necessary. See what we can come up with or consider coming up with that would be reasonable, but being protective of neighbors. I applaud you for wanting to supplement your income to pay taxes, but I am equally concerned about your neighbors, as I would be if they were doing something on their property that would impact on you.
Right, and
So,
that's very important to me. I love
Sure.
my neighbors. I know every neighbor around me.
yeah,
And I think they would expect me to maintain a very high standard. And,
yeah,
and what was really nice is the major platforms, VRBO. Oh, sorry.
yeah, sorry about that.
The major rental platforms that are available, VRBO and Airbnb are the two biggest, are very regulated about policies that require that people meet the rules of the house, which have to meet the rules of the towns. They actually have a lot of information on how to meet your town standards and make sure that the guests that you're bringing are clear on that, and they will assist in removing people, and not physically, but there's a lot of information on how to enforce those policies so that it's not harming the host or the visitors. I think this is a thing that's been thought about worldwide, and not just, but all over the United States. So it is really important to, a lot of people have put in thought about the ramifications, both positive and negative.
Thank you.
So I think what I'm going to do is ask the board to table this for tonight, and we'll put it on, we'll hold it over to the next agenda.
Okay.
Agreed?
Mhm.
All right, the other issue I have on my agenda tonight is an executive session item, has to do with the contract negotiation we're currently working on. I need to talk to the board a little bit about that. With that, I will bring it down to other business. Anybody have any other business other than what Peter had? All right, on behalf of our staff, 4-H members, and volunteers, Cornell Cooperative would like to invite you to join us for the opening ceremony, 2024 Putnam County Fair and 4-H Showcase, Saturday, July 27th. Ceremony will begin at 10 a.m. in the Upper Park Pavilion at Veterans Memorial Park, Gypsy Trail Road, Kent. Everybody is welcome. If any of us are going, there is an RSVP on this.
I'll be there, and I did RSVP to Stephanie today.
Great.
We'll at least
And
try
Paul,
to
you
leave
ready?
Patterson.
A little flyer. You can keep it.
Thanks.
Okay. With that, I'll open it up to public recognition. Any member of the public here wish to address the board on any issue, ask any questions, comments? George?
Jack LaLanne.
George Disbrow, Tammany Hall Road, and tonight I'm just representing the Patterson Library, our Patterson Library. So I just have a few tidbits. I just wanted to highlight a couple of programs that are going on. We are continuing our meditation and yoga series. By the way, all of this information can be found on our website, so please feel free to go to that. We have a moving coming up in August, Bank of Dave, and we are continuing our Medicare, Medicaid, and veteran benefits drop-in help. So we have those programs going on. I just also wanted to mention we're trying to reach out a little bit more to community, make our work known to other people. So we do have a Facebook. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I understand that on Facebook every month they are highlighting a trustee, and so I am the trustee of the month for July. So I
nice.
humbly and emphatically ask you to wait until August before you go to your Facebook post. In addition to that, we've started a podcast series. Last month in June, the Patterson Rotary Club came in, and it's a very nice podcast. They talk about what they're doing. They sit down at the library, and so there's other things that are coming up. You can go to our website to see, just click on the podcast icon. We're also on Apple, Spotify, and the library YouTube channel. Now, with that said, the really nice program I'd like to talk about is that in addition to our food drive that we always have a food box out in the lobby. We also have every Tuesday from 10 to 2, there is Meals on Main Street. And I just want to share with you, their mission is to focus on food, the most fundamental of human needs. People need more than basic food assistance and helping them quality food for their families with dignity and respect. So I would just like to say, I'm going to read this so that there's no misunderstanding. It's a nonprofit whose mission is to eliminate food insecurity. They'll be at the library every Tuesday from 10 to 12 with their pop-up truck of fresh produce, dairy, and baked goods. Anyone can stop by for food completely free of charge. So I think this is really nice, not only for our community and whoever may be in need, and we are very pleased that their pop-up truck is going to make a stop, at our library, and that we can be a part of that. And I thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to address you. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank
Thanks, George.
Is there anyone else in the audience joining us tonight? All right, hearing none, we will turn to people joining us by Zoom. There's nobody joining us by Zoom.
Motion
On
to go into
vacation.
executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you all.